I know it's so moist and wonderful. And then here we are. And probably when we go inside and it's dry with all the heat inside. Okay, so we are live. I'm recording. We're streaming, and I've got my special guest with me today. I'm so excited. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and welcome back to another PR Managers Saturday Morning with Stefana. We are joined by Alan Schwartz, and Alan is someone that I was just introduced to by a fellow Toastmaster when they sent me over his article that was in a newspaper, and it was a pretty powerful article that made me think I've got to reach out to this Toastmaster. As the PR manager, this is what we want: more good works made well known. And how we do that is we get our Toastmasters, we get our clubs, we get the district into the news. Whether that's a local newspaper, whether that is a specific news article or article for your specific category. Now, I'm going to pull this up, so I want to show this, or I'll at least talk about it. This is an ENX magazine, and this is pretty widespread. I mean, there's a lot. The audience that sees this is a big audience. It's been around for a while, and this is quite an article on you. So that's what I'm interviewing Alan about. And folks, stay tuned, because he's going to give us the whole scoop on how he got into this the newspaper article, and all the details. All right, so welcome, Alan. And will you just let us know who you are, where you're from, just the basics in terms of Toastmasters. What club or clubs are you involved in? How long have you been in Toastmasters? And we'll take it from there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that introduction, Stefana. I am Alan Schwartz, and I belong to Toastmasters Professionally Speaking 3091. And I joined in, I want to say it was either 2018 or it must have been 2019, around November. Actually, I learned about it in 2018, November of 2018. I joined in January of 2019. And a lot has changed for me since then, actually. So I can tell you a little bit about me, and then a little bit about how I came to be a Toastmaster, and how I came to be known as an industry difference maker. I consider myself to be an artist. So my original, focus was always like, how do I become an artist? And that's what I wanted to do. I paint, I draw, I do a lot of nature, landscapes, but also have some weird stuff out there. So artistically speaking, originally I moved to Portland, Oregon quite some time ago, over 25 years ago, from Los Angeles, where I grew up. And I left, oh my gosh, it must have been 27 years ago or so. I left LA, trying to make it on my own as an artist, came to Portland, and didn't make it as an artist. But I did eventually, after I ended up falling in love, which was my other mission, and traveled around the country. And you think you fall in love, but sometimes it's just falling head over heels into some sort of crazy whirlwind that took me all over the country and back. And that's a whole wide range of stories. But I ended up going back to, from Los Angeles to Arkansas to Pennsylvania, hitchhiking at points. I mean, that was crazy wild in my 20s, free floating, hitchhiking around Hawaii for a couple months, and just really had the life that I wanted. But I didn't quite make it as an artist. I did eventually go back to Portland, and I worked at TGI Fridays 20 some years ago, where I met my wife, who I've been with for the last 20 years. And I was working as a photographer in Vancouver, living in Portland at that point. And boy, I don't want to, you asked a simple question, and I don't want to.
No, this is fantastic, because
okay, great.
So let me just give you an overview, and this is for everyone listening, watching, because you're a Toastmaster. That's why I have you on the PR manager, the Saturday morning that I do, because I'm trying to encourage all of our clubs, all of our members to put themselves out there, to put the clubs out there, essentially making good works well known. That's what PR is.
Yes.
And everything you're saying has a nugget of a potential story. There's all these beautiful, it's like this tapestry. You're creating this tapestry of life. And oftentimes individuals don't think that their life is newsworthy. And I can tell you, I can have one conversation with someone and that's newsworthy. That's something to be celebrated. That's something to be acknowledged. 20 years being married. Congratulations. You're two beautiful children. You have puppies and a cat and a gecko. These are stories and pieces of your life we want to hear about. Now, I don't have that much time. I'm trying to keep this under 20 minutes. But
and this is the nature, by the way, this is the nature of why I joined Toastmasters in the first place. I love that. So it doesn't matter whether I was working as a photographer, managing a sales. I did manage a photo studio in Vancouver 20 something years ago, or whether I worked as a sandwich shop or in sales or wherever, landscape design and installation. Everybody told me the same thing: less is more, because I talk too much. And this is why I joined Toastmasters. Now, I happened to be in November, it was November of 2018, at a meetup club or space where it was called Meet the Meetups in Vancouver, Washington, where there were about 19 or so different meetup groups, each one represented by a table with a few people at it. And there was a speaker, and his name was Marv Sirhan, and he told a story that had everybody riveted. Everybody stopped and just listened to his amazing story and his amazing way of presenting this story. And I was riveted. And after his story, and after he finished speaking, I walked around and I met another gentleman by the name of Bob Hall, who was at a booth, and we got to talking, and he told me about his dog walking group. And he also mentioned that he was a Toastmaster. And I said, I've always been interested in Toastmasters, but I never actually found a group. I said, I'll be honest, I've been watching it on Meetup and thinking maybe I'll go this week, or maybe I'll go this weekend. And then maybe I didn't want to get up that early, or for whatever reason, I didn't end up doing it. But I met Bob, and he really told me how amazing this one particular group was, professionally speaking, and how it might be a perfect fit for me. 2.5 months passed, but I actually surprised him and showed up one day. And it was an amazingly well-run meeting. It had exactly what I wanted as a professional, because what I do for a living for the last almost 20 years is I'm a national broker for IT products and solutions and printing supplies and office supplies and PPE, kind of a one-stop shop without a brick and mortar. I work over the phone. And I take care of businesses and government agencies nationwide. So that mantra that every boss I'd ever had told me, less is more, less is more. I never really knew how to work on, let's just say, when to shut up. This is my challenge. Doesn't matter how long I've been in business, I have a hard time shutting up.
So interesting. It's opposite for so many people.
Yeah.
They don't feel like they can, but you and I have that same thing. I talk too much.
Yeah.
This is fantastic. Okay. So tell me, definitely a huge difference from you being an artist. Mm-hmm. Toastmasters to me, like I'm an actor. That's by my passion from the time I was a little, like 2 years old. So for Toastmasters, it nourishes me and it gives me that fulfillment as an actress, even because I can use some of those tools. So as an artist, I think Toastmasters is such a gift as well, because you can be creative and you can allow that exploration. But a lot of people, it's the second most feared thing, public speaking, right? The fear.
And I've been told it's the first. I've been told it's the number one.
Is it the fear of death? Well, now it's like fear of death, paying taxes, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you and I, we love to talk, but when to tone it down. I love that. So, and you also said when you went to your first meeting, you said it was a very well run meeting. And I want everyone to hear that and take a moment, because that's so crucial. And if you did nothing else PR wise for your club, but get your meeting to run impeccably, and it's so simple, just follow what Toastmasters provides. And it simplifies everything. It simplifies all the people who are involved in Toastmasters, and it makes it so much better. I love that you brought that up. Okay, so as we wrap up, will you tell us, how did you get this article published?
Well, I actually didn't. I was peer nominated. ENX magazine is an industry magazine in the office imaging, supply, and office equipment industry. It's a publication of about 28,000 people who subscribe, getting either a physical or a digital magazine. And they're manufacturers such as HP and anyone who makes printers, anyone who makes anything in that space, to the distribution network that they have, that's an authorized network, anyone in the supply chain, as well as resellers, which I happen to be on the reseller. So I'm a customer facing rep, whereas other people, this magazine was not intended for the general public. However, when I was nominated as a difference maker, it was by a peer who recognized some of the things that I'd done differently. My company sells toner. They've been in business for 36 years. They do $60 million in business. They're an amazingly well-run company. We're one of HP's largest authorized resellers for HP, among other OEM manufacturers. And we even have our own brand of Diamond Series toner cartridges, like it's an eco-friendly product that saves companies money. So as kind of a hippie myself, I told you I was an artist, but I was somewhat of a hippie. I wanted to save the world. I used to work for OSPERG, if you're familiar with Oregon State Public Interest Research Group, and I would call people and I would tell them about the environmental atrocities that companies were doing and how we were trying to change it. And basically it was a lobbying company connected to the Sierra Club. And I would call people, tell them bad news about the environment, and then ask for money for donations. Not really, in my opinion, making much of a difference, because then it goes into lobbying. But I realized one thing I actually could do to make a difference is to convert these businesses from using products that were basically going straight into landfills to helping them recycle the product and providing a way for them to take their used toner cartridges. If you knew how many toner cartridges and inkjet cartridges end up filling up landfills every year, it is insane. It's enough to make you cringe and have a hard time going to sleep at night. But let me tell you, I actually felt like I could make a difference. But then my career took many turns and I ended up really getting into everything IT. And as I'm doing this, I realized I am my biggest hurdle. I slow myself down to speed myself up. I need to, because it's about making your messages more impactful. And that's what Toastmasters does. It's about knowing when to shut up. And with the timing that they teach you on a club level when you're speaking, whether it's table topics or speeches or evaluating, everything's timed, and you get these green, yellow, and red cards, and it teaches you how to control how long you're speaking for and how to make that message more impactful. As a salesperson, anybody in the sales industry should be in Toastmasters. If they want to work on their craft, it's foolish for them not to be, because where else can you do this? Where else can you practice? And so anyway, I didn't realize that, but it really truly did help me in my career. I actually have been, I also started a club, my own group called Goal Getters Network. And then I ended up I spoke a few years ago right next to the mayor at a TLI Institute, giving a goal setting seminar. That was cool. I mean, here I am speaking right after the mayor. How cool is that? Like, I didn't think I was going to be a public speaker. And someone who attended that worked for an Oregon State group that worked with people with disabilities, and they hired me to speak, to give goal setting tips and techniques and skills to the people who work with people with disabilities. And it was amazing. And I actually got paid in, I want to say it was 2020 to speak. No one's ever paid me directly to speak. They only paid me when they bought the stuff I was selling. but here I was actually paid to speak. I had no idea my life would take that turn through Toastmasters. But going back to your, you do have a time slot and we do have to wrap it up. So I guess the real message that I have to say is no matter what you do professionally, there's always things you can be doing to better yourself and to improve your craft. They say if you're not growing, you're dying or you're shrinking. In business, I do believe I'm 46 years old. I believe I've still got many good years in my career ahead of me. And I need to learn how to take not just this one article from ENX magazine where they called me a difference maker. That's just because I'm trying to make a difference in my industry. But what about on a grander scale? Never let yourself think small. Always think big. So I'm trying to take my company from 60 million to 200 million, not single-handedly. It's a group effort. We got 200 sales reps who I'm trying to get on board. And I've done so many speeches about when I'm doing a presentation to my team to try to get other sales reps on board with not just selling toner cartridges. You've got 100,000 customers. Why aren't you selling them Microsoft cloud space? Why aren't you selling them servers and computers and hardware and software and peripherals and all these things that we can? Because you're afraid. I understand. I came up with my own word, fear, greed, ego, all mixed into one. That's what prevents people from growing and working on themselves and their craft. But if you actually get over your fear, get over your greed and not wanting to share opportunities with other people or what have you, and let your ego to the side and actually say, you know what, I need to improve myself. If I'm ever going to get out of this trap, it's like a sand trap that people get caught in because of their fear or whatever. They don't want to grow. But if you actually adopt some of what Toastmasters teaches, leadership and communication skills, and apply them to your life, it's amazing what you can do and who will follow.
It truly is. I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
Was Marv Sirhan also a Toastmaster, or it was Bob that was there?
Both. They were both members of the Professionally Speaking.
I'm going to find out. I want to go trace Marv Sirhan. I know Bob. He's the one
amazing as well. They're both GTMs.
Yeah, and you said that speaks loudly right there.
Mm-hmm.
You said he held the room captivated, and that's tremendous. So that's a high skill level, and a distinguished Toastmaster is at that level for holding that room. And then you said a couple of other things. I'd like to just wrap up with this. I felt your passion come through, and I think that this is what's so powerful as speakers is whatever your passion is, your passion to save the world and to make a difference, and you are making a difference every day. Made a difference in my life today. Thank you so much. I feel inspired and I have goosebumps from this. And I'm definitely the printers that have been sitting, I'm not going to dump them in the trash. I'm going to totally get them handled. Thank you for that. Everyone listening, we have to, recycle our printers correctly. And then to make your message more impactful, it is about being clear yourself, having that clarity yourself, and the word that you used, that you created,
fear, grego.
Great.
Fear, greed, ego, all wrapped in one.
Point. Yeah. And I think that if we're not clear ourselves, then that can definitely happen. And I know for our club, the club that I'm in, we have the ability to allow for time to get more clear. And I think that's an important piece because we have the basics. And so with every club having a system, we already have the system. We don't need to reinvent it. Just keep the system, keep the format so that everybody can focus with that clarity of the system in the meeting. And then they get better, so much faster. Because if it's a chaotic meeting right there, it stops everyone. And then the last thing I wanted to say, oh my goodness, so many great notes. This was an industry magazine. I'm wondering, sometimes people don't think that like we're just, for myself, I know this is what I do and I only think this way, and Toastmasters doesn't go out and merge into my other areas of life. But for all of us, it should, and it would be helpful to check your own industry and see if there's an industry magazine or an industry, a way for you to communicate your message in your industry, through your industry, whatever that is, to get a great article like this, because there's a message that you are wanting to get out. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be in Toastmasters. So as I leave this and we close this interview meeting, thank you so much for your time. Is there one final word that you would like to share as we close?
I would love to. Thank you so much for asking. You know, it's not one word. You can tell I'm a man of many words. So you've just unleashed the beast, but I will try to reel it in to the best of my ability using my Toastmasters skills. I think that you were very, in your summary of what I was sharing, I really appreciate it. I feel like you get it. I feel like you feel the energy. It goes back to one very important lesson that I learned at the very beginning of my career. I was a hippie. I had long hair and I had a boss who was dead set on getting me to cut my hair. He told me, you'll never make $10,000 a month with long hair. And I proved him wrong in my first year. And then eventually, about a month later, he said, okay, you'll never get to the next level without cutting your hair. And he took me to this amazing Beverly Hills hairstylist, and he actually cut my hair. He cut my ponytail off himself, and he's had that in. This was my first boss and one of my mentors in the industry, and he has my ponytail probably still, uses it as a pincushion, I'm sure. But I learned in that first year of that industry that the importance of goal setting. I had a reason why. He told me, you'll never make this much with that, you know, and he gave me a reason to prove him wrong. And I'm all about goals and goal setting. That's one of my passions. And so Toastmasters is a tool. It's a toolkit, even with pathways that can take you places you didn't imagine, but it's a toolkit. And it's not the answer to the question. The question is, you know, what you want and why. You have to have a strong reason why. My reason in the very first case to succeed in my industry was to prove a guy wrong because he said I couldn't with long hair. And then I cut my hair and I grew it back because here I am sitting in my home for the last 2 years. But point being, have a strong why. And then the toolkit such as Toastmaster will help you get there.
That is
Toastmasters
fantastic.
is the set of tools that you use to achieve your goals, but the goals don't matter if you don't have a strong why.
Absolutely. And that is a perfect place to end. Thank you so much, Alan Schwartz. We appreciate your time. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.